In a world dominated by symbols, few are as globally recognized and revered as the image of Jesus Christ. Across centuries, his likeness has graced everything from monumental cathedrals to family altars, often depicted as a serene, fair-skinned figure with flowing hair and gentle eyes. Yet, this image is more than a work of art. It has been a powerful tool of influence, shaping beliefs, identities, and even entire civilizations. But what if this image were a fabrication, a carefully curated depiction designed to serve cultural and political agendas? Russia has recently unveiled a collection of centuries-old biblical icons that challenge this deeply entrenched narrative. These icons, depicting Jesus and other biblical figures with dark skin, confront the historical erasure of diversity in Christian art and compel us to reimagine the faith through a more inclusive lens. This revelation isn't merely academic, it's a direct challenge to centuries of Western cultural dominance. The implications of these icons extend far beyond their striking aesthetics. They invite us to question the roots of our beliefs, the power of imagery in shaping faith, and the historical narratives we've inherited. As these icons re-emerge from the shadows, they illuminate a path toward reconciliation and truth, challenging us to embrace a vision of faith that is as diverse and complex as humanity itself. Unearthing a hidden legacy. The story begins with a discovery that feels almost miraculous. In the vast archives and private collections of Russian monasteries, long-forgotten icons have resurfaced. These artworks, some dating back to the 14th century, depict biblical figures with dark skin, a stark contrast to the predominantly white imagery that has dominated Western Christianity for centuries. How did these icons survive when so many others were destroyed? During the Soviet era, religious art was systematically targeted. Churches were shuttered, their treasures confiscated or destroyed, and Christian practice was driven underground. Icons that deviated from the Eurocentric norm were particularly vulnerable, as they stood in opposition to the prevailing narrative of a whitewashed Christ. Yet some of these works endured, safeguarded by devoted believers or overlooked in remote monasteries. Their survival is a testament to their significance and the enduring power of art to preserve truth, even in the face of suppression. Now, as these icons are unveiled, they force us to confront a long-overlooked reality, the diversity of early Christian art and the narratives it represents. The evolution of Jesus' image. To fully grasp the importance of these icons, we must examine the evolution of Jesus' image in religious art. The Bible itself provides little detail about Jesus' physical appearance. As a Jewish man born in 1st century Palestine, he likely had dark skin, curly hair, and other features typical of the region. Early Christian art reflected this diversity, portraying Jesus in ways that resonated with the local cultures of Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. However, as Christianity spread across Europe, depictions of Jesus began to change. During the Roman Empire's Christianization, Greco-Roman ideals of beauty and divinity began to influence religious art. Jesus was increasingly depicted with features that aligned with these ideals: light skin, straight hair, and a symmetrical face. This trend continued through the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, when artists like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci painted Jesus in the likeness of their European contemporaries. These depictions were not merely artistic interpretations, they were deliberate choices that aligned with the cultural and political currents of their time. A white Jesus symbolized not only spiritual authority, but also cultural and political dominance. This Eurocentric portrayal became deeply entrenched, shaping not only religious art, but also societal attitudes toward race and identity. The role of imagery in shaping faith. Religious imagery is far more than decoration. It's a powerful tool for conveying meaning and authority. Throughout history, icons have played a central role in defining what is sacred and eternal. In the realm of Christianity, the image of Jesus has been a focal point, shaping how believers perceive their faith and themselves. In Western Christianity, the dominance of a white Jesus has had profound implications. This image became a symbol of cultural and racial superiority, reinforcing the notion that divinity and, by extension, power was inherently tied to whiteness. During the colonial era, this portrayal was used to justify the subjugation of non-European peoples, aligning Christianity with European expansion and dominance. The consequences of this imagery have been far-reaching. For African Americans, the whitewashing of Jesus has often symbolized exclusion, reinforcing systems of racial hierarchy and erasure. Yet, it is not only the oppressed who suffer from these distortions. The faith itself becomes impoverished when it is reduced to a single cultural narrative. The icon's modern resonance. The unveiling of these Russian icons comes at a pivotal moment in history. Across the globe, conversations about race, identity, and representation are reaching a fever pitch. Movements like Black Lives Matter have reignited debates about systemic racism and cultural erasure, challenging societies to confront uncomfortable truths. For African Americans, these icons offer a powerful reclamation. They affirm the presence of blackness in the divine narrative, countering centuries of erasure. They depict a Jesus who stands in solidarity with the oppressed, resonating deeply in the context of America's ongoing struggle for racial justice. For the broader Christian community, these icons challenge deeply held assumptions. They invite believers to embrace a vision of Jesus that transcends race, reflecting the diversity of humanity. This is not an easy shift for many. It requires confronting long-held traditions and acknowledging the ways faith has been co-opted for political and cultural ends. A journey through the icons. Each of the unveiled icons tells its own story, offering a window into a world where art was not merely decorative, but profoundly theological. One particularly striking piece depicts the Holy Trinity visiting Abraham, inspired by the story in Genesis 18. The three angels, traditionally understood as a foreshadowing of the Trinitarian God, are painted with deep brown skin tones. The interplay between the dark figures and the luminous gold background creates a visual harmony that draws the viewer into a meditative reflection on divine mystery. Another icon illustrates the crucifixion of Christ, with black-skinned angels mourning at the foot of the cross. Their grief, rendered with exquisite detail, evokes a deep emotional resonance, presenting a divine realm that mirrors the fullness of human diversity. These works are not isolated anomalies. They are fragments of a broader tradition that was deliberately marginalized in later centuries. The broader implications. The rediscovery of these icons challenges the broader narratives that have shaped Western Christianity. For centuries, the dominance of white biblical imagery has reinforced a Eurocentric worldview, marginalizing other cultures and perspectives. This history has had profound consequences, not only for the representation of biblical figures, but for the way faith itself is understood and practiced. The timing of these rediscoveries feels almost prophetic. At a moment when the world is grappling with issues of race and identity, these icons serve as a reminder of Christianity's diverse roots. They invite us to imagine a faith that celebrates the full spectrum of human experience, rather than imposing a singular narrative. Confronting resistance. Not everyone welcomes this reimagining of Jesus and biblical figures. For many, the image of a white Jesus is deeply tied to personal faith, childhood memories, and family traditions. Challenging this image can feel like an attack on their beliefs. Yet, as scholars and theologians argue, acknowledging the diversity of the biblical world is not an attack on faith. It's an act of reconciliation. It's a step toward aligning our understanding of the divine with historical accuracy and inclusivity. Resistance to these icons often reflects discomfort with confronting how faith has been shaped by cultural and racial biases. But this discomfort is an opportunity for growth. It invites believers to embrace a more authentic and inclusive vision of faith, one that reflects the diversity of its followers. The unveiling of these icons is more than an artistic revelation, it's a moral challenge. They compel us to confront uncomfortable truths about how history has been curated and faith misused. They invite us to imagine a future where faith unites rather than divides, where the divine is not confined to one race or culture, but reflects the boundless diversity of humanity. For Black Americans, these icons affirm their place in the Christian narrative, countering centuries of erasure. For white Americans, they offer an opportunity to reconcile faith with historical truth, embracing a vision of Christianity that celebrates its global traditions. The enduring power of truth. Truth, much like the icons themselves, possesses an uncanny ability to endure. Even when buried beneath layers of distortion and denial, it never vanishes entirely. It waits, often in the shadows, for the right moment to re-emerge and transform the way we see the world. The Black biblical icons unveiled in Russia are a testament to this power. They challenge us to confront the distortions of the past and embrace a vision of faith and history that is inclusive, affirming, and true. They remind us that the story of Christianity is not a monolith, but a tapestry woven from countless cultures and perspectives.